So, hello everyone. We are back again on this wonderful episode of getting insights from some of our coaches and mentors who are very, very inspirational. And today with us, we have a very special guest joining us from Singapore. Nigel Lew is a friend, is a teacher, as well as an expert hypnotherapist. And he is certified as a professional seven path self hypnosis teacher, a certified hypnotherapist, a certified hypnotist, as well as if you want to check out his complete bio, I strongly encourage you to go to his website, nigel-lew.com. Amazing website, and he's a performing mentalist as well as a hypnotist who is giving some state of the art, rock solid stage performances, mesmerizing his audience. A lot of the corporates from Singapore are his client, and a lot of the individuals are getting benefited from his work. So we are highly delighted and really, really excited to have him on our show today to learn from him. A very warm welcome to you, Nigel. Welcome to this podcast.
Thank you so much, Anupam. That's very flattering. Thank you for the great and again rather flattering introduction.
Wonderful, wonderful. So Nigel, this is a community where people come to learn, and they want to learn from coaches and teachers like you how they become a better version of themselves. And I found your work as really, really amazing, fascinating. It had that flavor of that fascination of stage hypnosis, at the same time deeply rooted teachings and wisdom that you carry from the seven path and your decades of experience in hypnosis. So where did all this journey start from, Nigel, in your life?
Well, I in fact started with the entertainment side of things, with mentalism, which for those people who don't know, mentalism is in a way, you can see it as a branch of theatrical magic that is specialized in the more mental and psychological side of things. So we have illusions of mind reading and so-called psychic abilities. But personally, I don't really believe in those. I believe that a lot of these phenomena, psychic phenomena, so to speak, can be explained psychologically, scientifically. And so I started with that area of things first, and that was when I started doing hypnosis as entertainment as well. That was in the earlier part of this millennium, just about more than 10 years ago. And so when I did hypnosis, at first it was just performing feats of name amnesia, having people forget their names, having people change their names. And of course, by doing those performances, and I managed to reach out to people and have them escape from their everyday lives for a moment. But I realized there was something missing, in a sense that I didn't feel as though I was really so-called helping people per se. Sure, I was entertaining them, but I didn't feel like I was helping them. And in fact, I don't know how true it is, but it is rumored that the great magician Harry Houdini, on his deathbed, he was telling his doctor, "Doctor, I admire you because with what you do, you can really help people." Of course, the doctor said, "Oh no, you help people as well. What you do is real as well. Have you seen the looks on people's faces, the smiles, their surprise, their amazement, their looks of wonderment?" And when I heard that quote from Houdini, I mean, the doctor, of course, he made sense, right? But I also could relate with what Houdini said, reportedly said, that he admired the doctor in the sense that the doctor was able to help people for real, right? And that was when I started, to explore hypnotherapy a couple of years ago. And that was when I started with, like I mentioned, self-hypnosis, seven-path self-hypnosis, as well as some other hypnotherapy systems. And that was when I would help people outside of performances. And another reason I decided to get into hypnotherapy was sometimes at the end of my performances, people ask me, "Oh, hey, you do hypnosis. Can you help me with this and that?" Back then, I would tell them, "Oh, unfortunately, I won't be able to, but I can refer you to some other friends of mine. But now, fortunately, I can say confidently that yes, I can help. And that was how I got on this path.
Wonderful.
No pun intended. 7th path.
Awesome. Awesome. And what you said is really, really profound, that in even a great magician like Houdini, he also got inspired and admired that magic of healing somebody and changing somebody's life. And I think, with your magic, mentalism, and hypnosis, I think you are doing some great work, Nigel, already. And
I would like to hope so.
it is definitely great to learn, especially when people like I'm a big fan of this work of somebody called as Joseph Campbell, who came up with this hero's journey. This hero's journey framework, it talks about that at one point in time when hero is taking that leap, that first step, something motivates hero to take that path. I'm curious, and I'm sure people who are watching this video interview, they are also curious, that what was your reason of choosing this path of mentalism, magic, and hypnosis?
Well, so in fact, my origin story isn't as noble as what you just talked about. How I started with magic in the first place. Even before I started with mentalism, I started with magic. So making things appear, disappear, card tricks and all. And very honestly, the reason I started with that was just to stoke my own ego, to show off, I guess, to friends and girls in school. It was over the years, after years of doing magic and subsequently mentalism, that I realized that, hey, what's the point of showing off, right? What's the point of stoking my own ego? And it was after a couple of years that I started performing that I realized that I hope this doesn't sound too cheesy, but I realized that the real magic is really in the connection with people. Because if you're just doing card tricks, even if it looks great, a sleight of hand is amazing, honestly, nobody is going to care if you are alienating them. If you cannot connect with them, right, then there is really no point. And so in a way, it was after I picked up performing magic and mentalism that I learned to connect with people better and realize the importance of such connections.
So really connecting with people and the importance of a human connect is what kind of motivates you. And another golden nugget I got, that although you started with that fascination of magic, but you understood that the real magic is about connecting with people and making them realize their own true potential. So wonderful.
Oh, precisely. And on that note, helping people realize their true potential, that is a good point that you mentioned, and it's something I guess I could elaborate on a little. So initially, when I started doing magic and mentalism, it was I started doing all kinds of different effects and routines. Oh, look at me, I can read your mind. Look at me, I can do this, I can do that. It's everything. Everything was about me. I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. And subsequently, in recent years, I realized that now what really resonates with me is performance material, that instead of saying, oh, look at what I can do, it becomes more of, look at what we can do and look at what
Lovely.
you can do.
Lovely.
And that was another reason that drew me to hypnosis, because hypnosis, according to a lot of contemporary hypnotists, they believe that all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. That is one school of thinking. And that is what I tell both my hypnotherapy clients and my entertainment subjects as well. I tell them that, hey, whatever you can do, whether it's lean and leisure or whatever amazing feats, it is because of your willingness to delve into it. It's because of the power of your subconscious mind. It's because of how we can connect. And that's something that kind of pushes me and drives me to do what I'm doing now as well.
Lovely, lovely. That's great. So, it is so amazing to see that you started by, in the first few questions you answered, that fascination about mentalism, magic, then about connecting with people, and now it's about, as a coach and as a teacher, you are kind of unlocking their potential and letting them realize that they have that magic within them to unlock, and that's the art of possibilities, I would say, the art of looking at the immense possibilities that exist for human beings. That's so amazing. So, I'm curious that what are some of these paths that kind of appeal to you as terms of the modalities or the techniques that you found useful along the way in this change work? And is there something that you would like to share as a technique that our listeners, our viewers can take back and, to unlock that art of possibility?
Oh, yes. Excuse me. I think one big overarching takeaway is that all our emotions are there for a reason. All our emotions are there to either give us pleasure or to protect us. And that includes a lot of the commonly misunderstood, should I say, emotions such as anxiety, fear, stress, sadness. And a lot of people would think, oh, anxiety is terrible. Why would I want anxiety, right? I want to be confident all the time. But the fact is, well, for those who have watched Inside Out 2, there is a character called Anxiety, and they explain anxiety's function pretty well, in that movie. And that is that anxiety's function is to help us prepare for potential future scenarios. But the problem arises when life becomes too fast-paced, especially in urbanized areas, where so much is happening, and therefore we get overloaded with information and possible scenarios, and that is when the anxiety can sometimes become overwhelming. So the awareness of our own anxieties and recognizing it, I think, can be a good and big first step in helping us manage our anxieties and all other emotions in our lives. And so when it comes to anxieties, of course, we don't want too much of it, and anxiety isn't good when it is crippling and interfering with other parts of our lives. But at the same time, anxiety is not necessarily always an enemy. So of course, we can have different techniques to get rid of anxiety. Some people do meditation, some people do self-hypnosis, they go for counseling, hypnotherapy, all sorts of things, right? But what people don't usually do, I think, is embracing that anxiety sometimes, because say for myself as a performer, when I go up on stage, a question I like to ask some people, right, is, do you think me as a performer, when I go up on stage with my years of experience, do you think I still feel anxious? What do you think? Do you think I still feel anxious? Don't worry about right or wrong answers.
I think there is a level of, little bit of anxiety that all of us feel, that, butterfly in the stomach, that feeling.
Yeah.
It is there.
Precisely. And in fact, there is a rather famous MC in Singapore. His stage name is the Flying Dutchman. And he has this saying. He says that the moment that a stage performer goes up on stage and no longer feels any anxiety is the day of that performer's downfall. Because that is when the performer becomes overconfident and no longer improves, right? So yeah, a bit of anxiety does help from time to time. It can push us and everything. So I guess the biggest takeaway, once again, to wrap things up, is that being aware of our emotions, such as anxiety, is a good first step in helping us deal with it. But at the same time, don't think of them as bad, as negative emotions.
Brilliant. So that's definitely a very good perspective to have, that looking at these emotions, that what is a positive intent in that emotion and how you can channelize them. And that's extremely beneficial, especially for nowadays when there is a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress that people have, especially young people, who are facing many different kinds of stresses. I remember one of my friends saying that, back 50 years back, we used to have this 4-page newspaper. And now the newspaper and the information and the social media, there's so much of overwhelm, so much of anxiety, which is going on. So that's very, very interesting perspective, Nigel. Can there be some sort of a technique or some sort of a tool that you would like to recommend? Let's say somebody is struggling in their life with anxiety.
So, one commonly used technique by counselors and psychotherapists is called EFT, which stands for Emotion Focused Therapy. Excuse me. And there are 3 steps basically. The first step is recognizing and identifying that emotion that is bothering you. So sometimes people stress eat, they indulge in bad habits, or they just have generally very bad moods throughout the day without even knowing why. And so by identifying the emotion, for example, anxiety, which is one of the more common ones these days, that is already a big first step. And the second step is to find out and recognize where that emotion is coming from, where it's stemming from, what is the cause of that excessive negative emotion. And the third step is, if you're able to, work on that thing that's causing you that excessive negative emotion. So basically 3 steps, right? The first step is to recognize the emotion that is bothering you. Believe it or not, a lot of people actually are really bad at doing that, surprisingly. The second step is to find out where this excessive negative emotion is coming from. The third step is, do something about that negative emotion, right? Whatever is causing that negative emotion. So, and then some people might ask, what if there's nothing I can do about it? So, and this is another thing I would like to talk about. So let's imagine we have a problem that is bothering us, or a situation, right? There are 2 possible paths. One is, can I do something about it? Now, if I can do something about it, if we do something about it, it gets solved. We no longer have to worry about it, right?
Exactly.
Now, and the other path is, I cannot do anything about it. Then in that case, worrying, that is when anxiety doesn't help, right? And that is when we in a way try to tell the part of ourselves that's worrying and anxious, hey, it's not going to make a difference. So, we'll just deal with it when it comes. So we'll just stay in the moment, we'll stay in the now, present.
Awesome. I think that was a very good, solid golden nugget that you have given to our viewers. A little bit orientation around EFT and the 3 points, that recognizing that where that emotion is starting, what are the causes, and working towards it. I think these 3 simple steps, I think, are very, very useful, especially in today's world where people are, not getting that awareness. I think that is where such techniques and such kind of a mindful approach definitely makes a great difference. And what you said, really interesting, the 2 parts, that whether it is something in our control and we can do something about it, or it lies out of control where that anxiety can't help. I think great insights, Nigel, and I think our listeners, our viewers will definitely find this interesting. Are there any ways in which, let's say, if somebody would like to get more coaching from you, more guidance from you, be it in mentalism, hypnotherapy, or hypnosis, all these arts, how they can reach out to you, and what kind of coaching and mentoring or counseling models that you have for our listeners?
Oh, wow. I guess it really depends on what the listeners would be interested in, because I mean, mentalism sort of things, performing arts sort of things, and therapy sort of things are completely different, right? But in general, excuse me, whether it's for the performing arts or whether it's for therapy, they can contact me through my website's contact form or one of my social media pages. If you Google my name, Nigel space Lew, you should be able to find my socials and or my website, and any of those platforms would be great.
Brilliant. And when I did that myself, when I got to learn about these pages that you have, I was absolutely blown away with the kind of performances that you have given, and especially on your Insta handle, I found that some amazing.
Oh, I'm still building it up. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And with all those performances, I do see that you share that positivity at the end of it, and the whole premise with which we started, that from magic of fascination to magic of transformation is what I found your work to be, and especially the work as a hypnotherapist that you're doing, making people change these anxieties from or whatever the negative emotions to a more positive. I think that is really key to your work, which I would say.
Yeah, what I do like to tell my subjects in entertainment settings, right, is, say for example, I make them forget the names from, or I change the names, for example, from John to Jane or something like that. I tell them, if we can change your name or have you forget your name, and your name is so deeply ingrained in you, if we could do that, imagine what we can do with your fears and anxieties.
Brilliant.
So it illustrates the power of the human mind.
Brilliant. Wonderful. I think this conversation can go on, and I would love to speak more to you, and maybe invite you again on this broadcast. Then we have a short format for this kind of an interview. But before we wind up, before we even call it a day, is there anything that you would like to share as a final message, a final takeaway for this learning community, which is interested in building themselves as a better version?
Final message. Well, I think it is in our very instinct to kind of want to change the people around us, and by default, a lot of us don't change ourselves, right? And it is a little difficult, psychologically speaking, change ourselves as compared to want to change people. So what we can do is we think of ourselves as different parts. And when we want to improve ourselves, what we can do is maybe through the use of EFT, right? Now, because EFT is very related to mindfulness, we separated that part of us, that anxious part of us, into another part of us, and we take that as another person to change. See, and I think that would make things a little easier to better ourselves. Yes.
Wonderful. It was absolutely an honor, a delight to learn from you, Nigel, on
The
this
honor was
podcast.
mine. The pleasure was mine.
Yeah, and it's a fantastic journey that you are on, and starting from magic of fascination to magic of transformation, you're inspiring people, changing people, help them believe that they have this kind of unlimited resource of their subconscious mind, their unconscious mind, and I think that's absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for your time, Nigel, for this podcast. Really appreciate, and I hope that we meet again and learn from you again.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.